This is the No Excuses Coaching Podcast with Ryan Montes and Alana Banks, where we discuss the mindset, the attitude, and the strategies of elite coaching.
Okay, welcome everybody. No Excuses Coaching Podcast. And great news. We're going to talk about all the things you're doing wrong in your social media content today on the podcast. Isn't that right, Elena?
We are. I love it.
Yeah. We have a list.
We do have a list.
A list of grievances. We've been analyzing somehow your content, everybody. No, we didn't do that. That's not right. But we have a list of things that people are doing in their content that maybe it's leaving sales on the table, right? So if you remedy these 9 or 10 things that we're going to talk about, and you start doing this stuff, if you're currently making sales, good chance you're going to make more sales. If you're, still working up to that first paid coaching client, this might be the thing that pushes you over that edge. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There we go. How's that for a cold open?
That's good. And I know that the listeners' ears are perked up because whenever I hear, what are you doing wrong? I'm always just like, am I doing something wrong? Am I doing any of these things?
We are casting a thick fog of blame upon the listeners. Not really.
No.
But yeah.
No, we're not. And the thing is you're not really doing anything wrong. These are just areas for improvement, right?
What a lovely way to put it. Anyways, so on to the things that they're doing wrong. These are areas where potentially you could be doing better. Sure.
Yeah. And you may, these things too are probably outside of your conscious awareness as well. You may not even realize that, you're not including these particular things in your content. And once we bring them up, you're going to be like, oh yeah, why don't I do that? Or, what is preventing me from doing that?
Oh, okay. All right.
Just throwing that out there.
Let's get into it. Without further ado.
Yeah. Enough preamble.
What's the definition of the word ado? I'll ask ChatGPT later.
Yeah.
I know what it means, but I don't.
Without further ado.
I have no idea what it means.
I'm wondering, does it mean because you know how some people say ado is a party?
Yeah, but I think it's different. I think ado, as a party, is A space D-O.
Yeah.
But ado, without further ado, I thought it was like ADU, one word.
Oh, I don't know about that. We gotta look it up.
You start talking about that stuff, and I'll research.
Okay.
And then we'll find out later. Stay tuned for the end of the episode, and I will reveal: is it A space D-O or is it ADU?
Yeah. See, I always thought it was ADO, but I can't wait to find out. Anyway, number one, the first mistake that you could potentially be making in your content is not doing posts about your program or your offering.
Okay, this is a huge one.
This is huge. One. Yeah.
Huge.
We're just hitting the ground with the biggest one.
Yeah. Not doing any posts specifically about the product or service that you offer. Mm-hmm. Lots of coaches, lots of entrepreneurs, lots of OSPs. You know that term, Alana? Online service provider. Lots of OSPs. Great Instagram, great Facebook, great content, great YouTube videos where you educate and you provide value and you give, but you don't talk about what you actually sell ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Start talking about it.
Yeah. Do it. Talk about those awesome products that you've created or that you have, those services. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And be unapologetic about it. Because if people don't know they exist, how are they going to buy them?
Exactly. Yeah. People don't know they exist. And if you're not posting about it, also ask yourself, what's preventing you from doing that?
Yeah.
Do you not have something to offer? Do you not know how to talk about it? Do you not think anybody cares? Because at the end of the day, that's your business, right? You're not just creating content on Instagram for the fun of it. You're creating content on Instagram, I would imagine, to bring in clients, bring in money. So start talking about what you have to offer.
Yeah. Specifically, right? And specifically, for example, I run a few different programs, and one of them is a 3-day intensive hypnosis training. Yeah. Where a few cool things happen. First of all, you earn an official board certification as a hypnotist. I guarantee that everybody who comes and takes the trainings will successfully hypnotize other people during the training multiple times. I guarantee that you will be successfully hypnotized during the training. All kinds of cool stuff happens, right? And what I'm doing right now is an example of specifically mentioning something that I offer, right? Boom, it's that easy.
Yeah.
Boom. Okay.
Excellent.
Got it. Number two on the list. You are doing yourself a disservice if you're not weaving in a mention of your program into your actual content. So number one was like specifically and, explicitly drawing attention to your products and services. Number two on this list is in that other content where you are just providing value, educational content, entertainment content, or whatever. And I actually did a reel kind of about this recently. Are you making little subtle or little overt references to the products that you sell? And like the example, if you want to go find the reel that I made the other day is, I was making a reel, I was talking about a subject, I was giving value, and midway through, I just like held up my book. And I was like, and by the way, in my book, I mentioned interesting fact. And then I put my book down, right? And then I carried on with my content. And so what I had done is I inserted an elegant little reference to another product or service that exists that people can get from me into, an otherwise educational post.
Yeah. Super important. Yeah. I mean, I would say try to do that often. If you can, like every post, even if it's just as the sign off, like, by the way, or PS, I've got this thing going on right now.
Yeah. And I just did it again. I was telling a story, and what came up in the story? The book, the one sentence coaching course by Ryan Matas, available on Amazon.
Yeah. Buy it.
It's great. Literally 100%. 5-star reviews.
Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you, Alana. Cool. What's next?
Number 3 is the third mistake you could be making is selling people on having a discovery call with you rather than just suggesting they work with you. So this one's really important. And I was having a conversation with someone yesterday about this. And when we're writing our content as coaches, oftentimes what happens is we write our content as though we're talking to other coaches. And the thing is the common person, who is not in the coaching world doesn't even know what a discovery call is, for example. Right? Like they don't understand coaching jargon. And so there's kind of like two things to this mistake. It's like, you don't want to just be selling people to get on like a free call with you to talk, because you really want them to buy your program or buy a training or buy a recording or buy your book or something like that. But second is like, you also don't want to sell someone on a discovery call because chances are they don't even know, what does that mean? So it's more helpful to suggest that, if they're interested in whatever it is you were just talking about in your post, or if they want to have this outcome, then send me a message and let's talk, right? It sounds a lot less, it's not confrontational is not the word I'm looking for, but it sounds like a lot less scary to be like, send me a message, send me a direct message, let's chat, rather than like, let's have a discovery call. Because to the common person, like, what is that? Like, what's a discovery call?
Yeah. And I think the other important understanding here is get away from the belief that people must get on a call in order to enroll with you or in order to purchase your product or service. Yeah. Yes, the most traditional way for a coach to sell their service is to get a person on a free consult, often referred to as the discovery call, and then offer them a high-ticket coaching package during that call. That's very tried, very true, very tested. It works. It's great for a lot of people. But a lot of people are going to be ready, especially if you're open to it, are going to be ready to purchase your product or service in your DMs or through a payment link without getting on a call with you. And if you're a coach who's been around, a while and it ain't your first rodeo and you've had many clients, that before long, as your business grows, you have to begin to limit how many discovery calls you do, because before you know it, you could be on calls with people multiple times a day, and it's interrupting your ability to deliver your service or to market your business, right? So we got to keep how many so-called discovery calls or consult calls or sales calls we're doing in check, because it's a finite resource to a certain degree as well. And anytime you can be making a sale without the necessity of a call, you should, because that way you're saving your time, you're saving the client's time, you're being more efficient. You can, and ultimately you're going to be able to serve more people.
Yeah.
Boom.
I like it.
Got it.
Number 4.
Number next. Thing to stop doing, listeners, is pushing people towards your free or low ticket products or services when they're ready for your high ticket or full service product or service, right?
Yeah.
For the longest time, I didn't really have low ticket or, too much free stuff. Like I didn't have my book is, around $12 or $13. For the longest time, I didn't have that to push people to. And, I have my Reels Masterclass it's at $27 right now, very low ticket price for a very high value item. But when I was starting out, I had my one-to-one coaching, which was a high ticket product. And I had my hypnosis intensive training, which is like a mid-ticket product, and my longer coach mentorship program, which is a high ticket program. And that was all I offered. It was the only way to work with me was to spend $1,000 or more back when I was starting out. And guess what? My business grew really quickly, and as did my revenue, right? Only time, if you're interacting, in my opinion, if you're interacting with somebody who is interested in becoming your client, the only time you want to push them towards your low ticket or, free products and services is if they're absolutely not ready for your full product service suite, whatever that is, your high ticket offer, because we know that's where they're going to get the most value. And don't you want them to get the most value possible, the most transformation, and the greatest results, right? They don't need necessarily to graduate to your high ticket programs. If they're ready, they should go straight into them. Thoughts?
Yeah.
Elena?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the one thought that's just coming up for me is, are you pushing people to your free or low ticket because you are afraid to talk about your high ticket? That's one thing. Or are you thinking like it's easier to talk about the free, or do you have a belief that people are going to just be more interested in the free or low ticket, and so you're avoiding talking about the high ticket?
Yeah.
So check that for yourself. Like, is that a belief that you have?
Yeah. Is there an underlying hesitation to even try to sell your high ticket thing, whatever it is?
Yeah. Like, do you find it easier to sell the free and low ticket? And what do you find difficult about selling the high ticket?
Yeah.
If you're not doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we got that. Number 5 is having an unclear title or outcome of your program. So this could also speak to potentially why you're not selling your high ticket. Maybe you don't really have a name for it. Maybe you haven't really sat down and gotten clear on like what the specific outcomes are. So you don't even really know what to say. One thing that you could do is just really sit down and ask yourself, okay, if I'm just like a common person, what are they gonna get out of working with me one-to-one? Right?
Yeah.
Like what are the outcomes in plain language that, just like a regular person is going to understand, not a coaching person, but just like a regular person. When I was sitting down thinking about my program, it was just like, and it sounds so basic. I remember thinking, but I teach people how to have better sex, or how to experience more pleasure, or have more orgasms, or develop a deeper connection in their relationship. And it sounds very basic based on like all the information that I know and all the stuff that I know we go into in my one-on-one program. But at the end of the day, that's the outcome, and that's what people are looking for, right? So just really sitting down and like making a jot note of like, what do people get when they work with you?
Yeah. Yeah. And, is it ultra clear, right? Like, I offer a few certifications and, in my business, they're for coaches. But I don't call my coaching certification because that does nothing to differentiate it from the million other coaching certifications that you can get out there. Right. So yeah, it needs to be fairly specific, and you want to, be fairly clear, and it should be fairly clear to others. What are they getting from your program? Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Love it.
All right. Number 6.
Next, writing content that is not problem focused, outcome focused, et cetera, or doesn't lead with a problem. So I know, Alana, you have some thoughts on this, but like what comes to mind for me when I hear this is, there's an understanding in the NLP world that in order to sell a solution, there must be in the client's mind, or the potential client's mind, there must be an emotional connection between, their problem and your solution, basically, right? So in order for somebody to see the value in the service that you offer, which is a solution, they must first be aware of what is their problem. Why might they, desire that solution or desire that outcome, or whatever. So I think this is a good one, but I know, Alana, you have some thoughts on this.
Yeah. I mean, my big thought is I don't like dwelling on the problem, because I think that people know what the problem is. So I think it's a good way to like lead into content by addressing the problem, like right off the top, because that can hook the person's attention and be like, oh yeah, that is my problem. But then moving into being more outcome focused, right? Like what we were just talking about with the last point is just speaking to what they want is, I think, is better serving to the potential client than dwelling on the problem.
Yeah.
And it makes them excited. Like it gets them excited to be like, wow, imagine what my life could look like if I worked with this person.
Yeah, definitely agree on all of that. We don't want to like become the ultimate host of the ultimate pity party, and victim story reinforcement, center for our particular niche, right? We don't ever want to get into that position. Yeah. But one of the great ways to demonstrate to your niche that you are an authority in getting the result that they want is by demonstrating to them that you truly understand the pain that they're in because of the problem that they're still in, right? So but Alana's bang on. You need to be really careful and find the right balance. And if you're a coach who is consistently attracting clients or potential clients who are very, very aware of their problem but are unwilling to take action to change it, you're probably leaning into the problem too much in your messaging, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When we mention the problem in messaging, we also want to make it clear that this is the problem. I understand it, and I'm here to take people out of problem island and bring them into outcome island, right? Because we don't want to, necessarily be marketing to the people who are content to stay sitting in problem island and take no action. And I'm not by any means casting, judgment or shame on anyone who is in that position. It's just that those are not the people who are going to get value from a coaching relationship, right? So
yeah, you want people who are, have one foot in the boat on the way to outcome island.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the boat is the coach.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, or it depends. It depends on your business.
I don't know. I love this little this little image that I have in my mind. Okay. Next one is, I don't know whose turn it is anymore, but number 7.
I have the odd numbers. I have the even numbers.
Okay. So writing content that holds back the answer, insight, solution. So you're not sharing the results. So this is the kind of content where you're maybe sharing the problem, or you're kind of like talking about whatever it is that you talk about, but you're not giving into like how you solve that problem, what results the client could get, what the outcome is. You're just kind of like leaving people hanging which can be really annoying because people are reading the content being like, "Ooh, I want to I want to know how I can change this thing, or, how I can have more intimacy in my relationship." But then if you just stop there, then you leave everybody kind of like hanging, which we don't want to do.
We don't want to do that. And also it can actually, and we know why marketers and we know why coaches do this. You don't want to give away the farm, is the expression. You don't want to give away your service for free, right? And give people all the secrets and all 100% of the solution through your content. So people hold back. They want to create interest and in the hopes that people are going to book a call with them or pay to work with them. And the truth is, it's really hard, even if you tried to give away the full solution, tried to give away the farm or the horse or whatever expression you want to go with. If it's free content and it's in captions and it's in little snippets here on, Instagram and Facebook, it's never, ever going to eliminate your paid client base, because no matter how open and forthcoming you are with the secrets of getting results in your content, there's still going to be people who want, and more importantly, need to work with you and have you hold their hand metaphorically during the process in order to get the result. Yeah. I could write 1,000 books on how to be an amazing coach and how to use NLP and apply NLP and how easy it can be and exactly word for word what you could say if you wanted to say it the way I say it. I could write 1,000 books and give them out for free. People are still going to get 1,000,000 times more value if they pay to come and, work with me face to face. We're on calls. I'm giving them feedback. I'm hearing their voice. They're hearing mine. So I'm not worried about giving away too much in the content. And you shouldn't be either, folks out there.
No, I think the more you can give away will show the people who are watching your content that you know what you're talking about. Because if they're getting results from your free content that you're just sharing openly on Instagram, then that leaves them to believe like, wow, I'm getting so much value from this free content. What will it be like when I'm actually working with this person?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like it's going to blow their mind.
Absolutely.
Because you're the secret sauce, right? Like working with you is the secret sauce to their problem.
Yeah.
It's a direct ticket to Outcome Island.
That's the direct ticket, right? Do you want to swim to Outcome Island, which is figuring it out on your own? Or do you want to get on the speedboat, the Ryan Montes NLP and hypnosis coaching training speedboat, and become that, awesome coach in no time?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? And I'll tell you, like, to your point, Alana, sometimes I'll drop a piece of content that is just so honest and so full of value. And, it was something that I learned that was highly valuable for me. And I'll have people, read it. And the answer is right there in the content. And they, take it and they apply it. And they're so pleased that they're messaging me saying, like, literally, I've gotten multiple messages that say this almost word for word. How much for XYZ? They're asking, they were so happy with the result they got from my free content that they have some other result in mind that they want. They trust me because they've already gotten value from me for free. They're like, how much do you want for this? Right.
Yeah.
And if you're a coach and you're, people who you've not previously had conversations with are messaging you being like, how much for XYZ or how much for ABC or like, what do I need to do to work with you? You're doing something right in your content.
Yeah. So I think the key on number 7 here is don't hold back. Like, don't be afraid to share how to help people. Don't be afraid to share your techniques because it's not going to take clients away from you. In fact, it's going to attract more.
Yeah. No holds barred. No holds barred, folks.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So next one.
Number 8
is going into far too much detail describing the problem rather than offering solutions or information or next steps, et cetera, et cetera. And if you do this, you're going to become the host of the ultimate pity party for the people in your niche / the executor of the stay in your victim story center of North America or whatever, right? What we talked about a few points ago. There's a lot of coaches that do this because when you create content that is hyper focused on clients, on the client problem, like on their suffering, it actually will draw lots of attention and follows and likes because you're making people feel understood. The problem is when you overdo it with describing the problem, and I had one mentor that would say like pounding on the pain, so to speak. Then you're going to get into attracting people who are not solution focused, who are strictly problem focused, and are just looking for other people to talk about how life sucks with, basically, rather than looking for a coach who can help them to solve the problem and boom, go live on the gorgeous solution island, right? We don't want to do that. We don't want to risk that by, and there's not really value in telling people, over and over and in great detail, how bad their problem is. As Alana said, they know.
Yeah, they know.
You only want to describe it enough to demonstrate that you understand also, so that they know, okay, this person understands my problem, my suffering, therefore they're probably qualified to provide a solution for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also made a note on this one too that said going on or like describing in too much detail about your process, because at the end of the day, nobody cares, right? Like when you go to the doctor for knee pain, you just want him to fix your knee, right? You're not interested in like how he's going to go about fixing your knee. I think we've done like some episodes on this before, but this is another mistake that a lot of like coaches make, or hypnotherapists, or, EFT people or whatever. They go into too much detail about the process of like how you're going to help the client. And the client really doesn't care because they just want to get to Outcome Island as fast as possible. So if you're swimming, canoeing, speedboating, parasailing, doesn't matter. Just get me there.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Number 9 is only talking about the result you provide and never saying what the actual program or offer is.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Another good one. This one, see, it's a little vague in the list here because I think that, this is a problem if you do this, if you only ever talk about results and you never talk about what your program is. There's a difference between talking about what your program is and like going into hyper detail about every module and every modality that you use within your program, right? Yeah. Like when I talk about my 3-day hypnosis intensive, the results are, okay, you're certified, you've successfully hypnotized somebody, you've experienced hypnosis yourself. Those are all results. When I talk about the program, it's a 3-day intensive where we work in a small group live via Zoom. It's highly interactive, right? Now I'm talking about the program. Yeah. But I'm not saying, okay, and let me break it down. During hour 1 of day 1, first we're going to do this. I'm going to show this slide and that, right? I'm not going into excruciating detail where I'm starting the program in my content. But again, your followers need to have an awareness that there is a program for them to become excited to become a part of it, right? If I only talk about the results, how great it is to know what hypnosis feels like and know how to hypnotize other people, and to how great it is to be certified by the American Board of Hypnotherapy. But then, I just never mentioned that, oh, and by the way, you can accomplish all that in 3 days on my hypno intensive.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Then how are people going to know? Right.
Yeah. And I think too, it's, not going into too much detail, like you said about that, like even when it comes to like your one-on-ones, for example, like say you have a 12-week one-on-one thing, like normal people, or not normal, but like non-coach people don't even know necessarily what a one-on-one is. So just explaining that you're going to hop on Zoom once a week to talk about, what's going on with them and coach them. Like you don't have to go into detail or saying that there's Voxer support. No regular person understands like what's Voxer, what is Voxer, right? Like most people don't even know what that is. So just using plain language that's like, in between sessions, you're going to have access to me by text. Like you can text me between sessions. making it very plain English language
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
is also really helpful. And like, it's not going into too much detail about like what your actual offering is, but it's just kind of letting them know like how it's going to work. Like, how are they going to get the result?
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. The other thing is you want to like, this also helps to pre-qualify people for your product or service, for your coaching program or whatever, because like, let's say, somebody's looking for an in-person hypnosis training and they have their heart set on that and they understand, the advantages and disadvantages of in-person versus online, and of which there's many of both. But let's say they understand all that and they're still looking for an in-person hypnosis training, which I rarely offer, right? Because there's, for me and for the people who run businesses, the way I do, and the people who like being an online service provider, there's more advantages for learning online, right? If I talk about my program and I talk about how I focus on online training because of the advantages that I'm aware of for it, well, that's going to automatically draw in people who want to be an online hypnotist and say, oh, Ryan's training is perfect for me. And it's going to automatically alert those people who are exclusively looking for an in-person offline training that, okay, yeah, Ryan is great, but, he's not offering that right now.
Yeah.
Right. And so it saves me, answering questions in the DMs, and it saves them, potentially wasting their time, et cetera, right? It's screening in the people that are right for you and screening out the ones that are not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Cool. All right. Number last is giving too many details and going too much into the weeds. I kind of alluded to this earlier.
Yeah.
Going too much into the weeds about your process so you confuse the people.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I don't need to, we don't need to break down into the step-by-step minutia of, our 12-week programs or our 3-day intensives or whatever. Because, they'll find that those little details, they'll find out when they get there. Right.
Yeah.
What they need to know is, what's the result going to be? What's, other things, what's going to be expected of them, et cetera.
Because going through the process in so much detail, it could also kind of scare the person away, because they're like, a 90-minute call. Like, I remember doing like a debrief with a client recently, and she was just like, I remember when, we first started working together, and I was so stressed out about the 90-minute calls, because she was like, in my mind, that seems really long, right? But, after going through the process, she realized it was the perfect amount of time, because like an hour was too short, 2 hours was too long. But you don't want to scare people off by going too deep into the process, because it works. But for like a regular person looking for help, they may be like, oh God, that seems like a long time to be talking to someone I don't even know about my problem, right?
Yeah.
So that could be scaring people away too, if you're going into too much detail.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing. A lot of the coaches, a lot of the stuff that you're going to do with your clients, they're not going to understand whatsoever why it is important or valuable until they've experienced it.
Yeah.
Until they've experienced it. There's a lot of stuff that like is in my trainings or is in my coaching programs that is really cool and really powerful, and literally changes lives, but makes no sense when you just describe it to somebody who's never experienced it. But then people come through and do it, and we'll say something like, I wasn't sure what to expect on this course, but oh my God, was this amazing, right? And there's value in letting there be some surprises.
Totally.
In your process. Wants them to have some like mystery and a little bit of intrigue going into your process, right? You want them to be wondering a little bit. Like, you don't give away the middle of the movie in the trailer, right? Because people want it to feel novel as they're going through it,
Yeah, you want people to come in with like an open mind too, so that they can be open to the experience and then like open to having really amazing results.
Yeah. And this also, one other side benefit of not going into extreme details and going into the weeds on your programs before people get there is, if you don't do that, it gives you the freedom to change things up on the fly. If you have a client going through and you think, oh, you know what, for this particular client, I'm going to move module 2 to the last thing we do because right now they need module 1, then 3, right?
Exactly.
And if they had a hyper specific expectation of the way things were going to go, then that could create friction or they could become confused, right?
Yeah. Well, and it could also interfere with the results because if you have like a very logically minded person and they're like, well, you said that, you know, we had to go through the modules in this way and now we're not. So like, I'm not getting what I paid for, you know, like there are people out there that are like that. So, you know, you got to be, keep some stuff hidden.
Or just, avoid that temptation, you know?
Yeah.
And if you have a sales page, you know, for your coaching program or whatever, you don't necessarily need to have that like curriculum laid out, you know, minute by minute, week by week. Because you might find that it's overwhelming for potential clients and burdensome for you.
Yeah. And if that is not your process, like I remember working with like a designer for my website and he kept asking me for my process. Like he wanted to lay that out. And I was like, that's not how I work. Like I don't really have a process. And so I ended up calling it the no process because, you know, like I'm very fluid with my clients. Like, yes, do I have a framework that I follow 100%, but I don't necessarily share that with them at the beginning. Like, I'm not like, okay, we're going to do this week. And then next week we're going to do this. It's really fluid and based on like their results. So this is your business, right? Like you can do it your way. You don't have to have a process. You don't have to have modules or like a step-by-step. Yeah,
absolutely. You want to be dynamic, folks.
Yeah, be you, right? Because that in the end of the day is what is going to draw people to you.
Yeah. Remember, it was, 2 weeks ago? We talked about reprioritize on the fly.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
It's hard to do that, you know.
Yeah.
If you've laid out a hyper specific agenda for the next 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Or whatever. There's other reasons not to get too much into the details as well. But you know what? We don't need to get too much into the details about why you don't need to get too much into the details, right? There's many other reasons, but hey, just, you know what?
Yeah.
Take our words for it. Or start your own podcast if you disagree, right? Yeah. Can I say?
So I know everyone is just sitting, waiting to hear about a do.
Yeah. So if you want to know the answer, just send me a direct message. On Instagram, it's at Ryan Montes NLP. Now, you know what? So the question was it further ado, A space D-O, or was it further ado, A-D-U? And shocker.
I thought it was, hold up, I want to put mine in. I thought it was ado, A-D-O, all one word.
So it is that. It is that. Which was not, I didn't think that was even in the running. Apparently, Alana now claiming that was what she was suggesting all along.
I didn't look it up. You saw me here. I've just been sitting here. Yeah,
so it's ADO, further ADO. And the definition of, because when I Google it, like it gives me the definition of the phrase further ado. But what does the word ado mean? So the word ado means a state of agitation or fuss, especially about something important. Oh, so then I've been using this phrase incorrectly forever because like I use it without further ado before I talk about something important or like the main portion of content. But this says that ado refers to agitation or fuss, especially about something unimportant. So, although I guess because of the stuff before the main content might be considered less important. Well, listeners, you know, give us your thoughts on further ado. I also like enough preamble.
Yeah.
Enough preamble.
I'm into that.
There's something funny when you say enough preamble. Like there's something meta about that as a podcast host. Because you know you need preamble. You can't just like...
Yeah, you can't just jump in.
You gotta have a cold open and a little bit chit chat, have some laughs. You can't just jump. But then also it can really get out of hand really quickly.
Yeah, it can.
So like enough preamble. That could be like the name of our, like a documentary about our podcast. Enough preamble.
Oh, now we're having a documentary.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking a new T-shirt idea could be Outcome Island.
Outcome Island. One-way ticket to Outcome Island. Where do I catch the speedboat to Outcome Island? Yeah.
I was thinking of getting that Fiverr guy to like draw a picture of like a cool illustration of what Outcome Island looks like.
Yeah. I think Margaritaville is located conveniently.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Lots of ideas. Tell us which one you like the best.
Lots of ideas. By the way, do we have a source reference citation on the list?
Yes. So this woman, I follow this woman on, her name's Eleanor Strong. She's a coach. She coaches on basically writing content. That's like all she coaches on, high ticket to work with her one-on-one. But she's developed her own method basically on writing content that is going to sell and get you high ticket clients. So she's interesting. She has a lot of really interesting content. She really believes in writing very long form content. Like we're talking over 2,000 words, like 2,500 words. According to her, this method is tried, tested, well researched. This is her pride and joy. So
yeah,
check her out and see what you like. See if you like it.
Yeah, if you're into that. I don't do long form captions.
No, I just don't have I can't even read one of her entire posts. Like it's too long for me. Yeah.
So, I mean, if it works for you, but great article or great list we got from her. So thanks to her for a little bit of inspiration for our chat today. So Alana Banks, what do you got going on? By the way, everybody, buy merch, buy merchandise, buy the No Excuses Coaching Podcast merchandise. Alana, what do you got going on?
Well, I'm in the middle of my sex reset challenge. So if you're not going to hear this till next week, so it'll be over, but you can go back and listen to all 5 days.
Nice.
Yeah. On my Instagram at Alana Banks Coaching.
Cool. Anything else?
Well, I'm always taking on one-on-one clients. So if you want to have better sex, reach out to me.
Yeah. If you want to have better sex, reach out to Alana, send her a DM. If you want to hop on a sales call or a discovery call.
Yeah. I'm open. Send me a message and we can get on a call. Actually, in my profile, you can hit on my link at Alana Banks Coaching on Instagram, and you can book your very own 30-minute coffee chat with me.
Yeah.
Anytime, free.
Yeah. I like free coffee chat better than discovery call.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Discovery call is a scary term for somebody who's not in this world.
It is. Like, what are we discovering on this call?
Yeah. What if I don't want to discover it? What if it's a scary dinosaur? Anyways. Mm-hmm. Cool. I've got one of my legendary 3-day hypnosis intensives coming up really soon.
Oh yeah.
So if you're interested in hopping into one of those, it's definitely by far my most popular training that I offer. So shoot me a DM on Instagram at Ryan Marcus NLP. We can chat about that. What else have I got going on? I'm thinking about running a retreat. It's been now since 2020 that I did an in-person event. Mm-hmm. It's been now since then. And so I'm thinking about running a retreat. So if you are thinking you might want to be part of a hypnotic /NLP /retreat for coaches, it would be for coaches. Shoot me a DM and just let me know that you might be interested.
Cool.
And that's what I got going on. I also have my 12-week coach mentorship program. Let me know if you're interested in that.
Yeah.
Lots of good stuff.
So much good stuff. Love it.
Yeah. And the podcast.
Yeah, and the podcast.
But they're already, if they're hearing this, then.
Yeah, they're listening.
They got
Share it with your friends. That would help us.
Share our podcast. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, enough post-amble.
All right, so yeah, that's it.
All right, bye.
Bye, everyone.